out of a tower at the start, goes on a gap year in the north and gets everyone killed.
Well, I don't feel bad for never watching that show. That's all I'll say. Because that sounds terrible.
It was a terrible ending.
Yeah. Yeah, I never appreciated the writing on that show. From the clips I saw, it looked horrible. Anyway, looks like you're not getting your backup. 4 more minutes left.
In case I shall ready myself, I lighten up of fucking smoke ahead of time.
Yeah. Have you guys got any snacks or foods over there?
Fuck, I should grab some snacks.
Do it.
Yeah.
Get some snacks, a little beer. That good stuff. I made a I made a protein yogurt I'm sitting here with. Like a damn ogren. I'm like a real life ogre. I have to get my proteins, yeah. I'm a growing boy. Yum yum. Alright.
Right, that's that done.
What have you got to eat, Aaron?
Chocolate peppermint creams.
Chocolate peppermint drinks?
Creams.
What is that?
Sweets.
Oh, sweets.
Yeah, I've had my tea.
It's like chocolates?
Yeah, basically.
Like after 8?
Yeah, actually, a wee bit like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Only a hell of a lot cheaper. And more substantial.
Sounds delightful.
Right, so... What are we at? That's right, we're gonna connect there, so...
I'll be right back. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Aaron. Can you hear me?
got myself the cold brew, got myself the nicotine,
Yo,
got
yo.
some snackies.
Nicotine is pretty good, man. I've read some research on that now. It actually protects against neurodegeneration. So I should probably take that shit.
Yeah, it's just the delivery's the problem.
I bought some nicotine gum actually that I've been taking. It's pretty good.
Unfortunately, I do the stupid stuff of smoking it.
Yeah. It's not really that bad unless you do like unfiltered or something.
Now you the fuck the benefits filter.
A little bit.
It's like a general debuff on all of your organs.
Yeah. Have you tried gum or something?
Uh-huh.
Have you tried other nicotine things? Gum?
Yep. Nicotine, gum, straps. Not straps, but you know.
Patches.
Yep. Vaping, all of it.
Damn.
Ah.
Quick question. Can anyone remember on if we have any of those soul stones left over?
Hey, you're really low, Aaron. Can you get closer to the mic?
No, because it's on my head.
Oh, fuck. Is there some low? Is it low for you, Tavi?
Yeah, but I just made him louder.
Okay.
He's sitting somewhere at 150%.
Oh, yeah, I'll do the same. Your mic is low.
Might be on its way out then.
Oh, that's good, that's good.
Excellent.
Much better, much better. That's great.
How's that?
I was just trying to call somebody. We haven't heard from Nick. He said he would be coming.
He's generally around half an hour late, is he not?
Half an hour early?
Half an hour late.
Oh, half an hour late. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I did get a message from Nova. He can't make it, Chris. And Boyle, Caleb. Can't make it.
Well, yeah, it's Easter, right?
Brad. Hey, let's call Brad. Let's have some fun. Let's see what a psycho is up to. A fucking crazy bastard. I'm gonna call him up. Okay, we'll see how I terrorized him a little bit. Yeah. Well, I think the 10 minutes have passed. Unless you guys want to wait more. It's up to you. I am just I'm going to run the game as usual. Feel free to call in your reinforcement characters. If you don't want to die.
Reinforcement characters, who the fuck made those? I would take your entire stock of default arbiters.
Should have thought about that. We have a new guy too, Aaron. No, that's you, Aaron. Okay.
Yeah, we got a new guy, Aaron. Oh no.
I just read the name as I said that. Aaron, that sounds familiar.
What could it be?
We also got Tears. That's a new guy.
Kind of hurtful,
Yeah.
but okay.
Morgan is you, or do you want to play Morgan? Or have her as a reinforcement?
She's kind of squishy, so yeah, I could. Why not?
Well, it's up to you.
Who is
Give it
your
10 more
least
minutes.
favorite?
10 more minutes. Okay.
Give it 10 more minutes, and then what do you call it? Then, if no one's there, then yeah, fuck it, she's up.
Sounds
How
good.
about in these 10 more minutes you explain to me how is the current situation going, Darren?
How is the current situation going with what?
With the whole saving the Echelon sector from a soul rendering warp storm.
Do you want the truth, or do you want the comforting lie?
Let's face it, you've been in this game for how long has it been? Almost 3 years. I'm certain that you've figured out how to solve a mystery without any major casualties by now.
Major casualties? Yes. There has been no major casualties.
So what? Okay, how about we start with this? What is our current objective? Aaron?
Our current objective is to go to the Basilica,
Okay.
which I don't actually have the name of here. Yeah, the Basilica. I can't pronounce that. I'm not going to even try. Idea is to sort of see what their connection is to A, unsanctioned psychers, B, to see whether or not they are the ones that are actually moving this virus thing, and if not, are they actually basically facilitating the transport of the psychers to the black site. There currently is a virus that seems to be they're currently sort of more thought than an actual virus itself.
A mimetic agent?
Pardon?
Like a mimetic agent, an idea that has physical harms upon a subject?
Yeah.
Or rewrites their personality in some way?
Yeah. But how exactly we're going to combat that is not really being thought out as yet. But I kind of think that once we take down the pandemonium, hopefully it'll just go away. I'm an optimist like that. And
Yeah, you know that you were interrogating. Was it Raphael Thortes again?
Yes.
And he's up to some shady business. You know that they're being bribed by someone, the councillors. There's also like a conspiracy within the council. He gave you some information on that. He's
we have that information, but
he's partially guilty. And there's someone acting on them from without. And, they're being manipulated.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you went to the Basilica to try to figure out. Well, I don't know exactly.
What their involvement in all of this is, I assume.
Yeah.
Right, Aaron?
Yeah, we're going to actually sort of see whether or not they're involved in the transfer of unsanctioned psychers to this black site, and if not, then what are they actually transporting?
Or that if they had any impromptu visits or have done any pressures upon the councillors in any way, shape or form.
I don't know whether or not he is actually involved in the whole thing, the whole council thing. You know, the actual. I think he's actually just working directly for the whatever it is that's actually controlling the council.
You mean You mean if the cardinal is involved in anything?
No, I think what he called he's. This is just my theory, but personally, I think he's pretty much the go-between between the aliens and the council. He's basically their fallback position, because if he is as strong as all of them put together, then having him in your pocket in case they don't do what you want. I'm probably not explaining myself very well. So basically, essentially same with the Cardinals' relationship to your man Varys is, because he's the one that seems to have the, what do you call it, the Psychers under control and all that. You know, the Astropaths, which means that he'd be the one that would be shipping them off-world, as far as I'm concerned.
Due to the nature of this virus, it would be from a psychic nature, most likely.
It could be.
I don't know what, I can't remember exactly, but when interrogating Raphael, we had a picture painted that the basilica itself is very important, but I can't remember for the God of me exactly why.
He actually said that the basilica is it seems to be that is where a lot of this illicit trade is going from.
Right, exactly. A lot of shade.
So it seems to be the main sort of collection center for things
that are not exactly up and up.
So essentially, what we're actually doing is going there, trying to suddenly rattle a couple of branches and see what falls out.
Let's hope that nothing falls onto us. How exactly are we gonna approach this? We can't just storm in the basilica.
Well, I was kind of hoping Demetrius would be here, which is why I was thinking about using Morgan. Because if there's going to be Psychers around, then hopefully they can actually sort of pinpoint where, what numbers. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's probably going to be going through the actual basilica itself. Or, you know, the catacombs or something like that. There'll need to be some sort of collection center. I mean, an awful lot of this is just supposition and hope, to be honest with you.
Right. Only there was a way to, like, gain at least a floor plan or any... Wait, yeah, actually, can we check some records for floor plans or of the basilica, like things that are in the middle of construction, or get a rough idea of it?
You're traveling right now, if I'm not mistaken. You're I don't know how you're traveling. Your ship or you were hitching a ride on like a merchant ship, is what I think.
Yeah, it was hitching a ride in a merchant ship, and it was, is it going to be high class, medium, or low? And I said, well, okay, I suppose we could always slim it. And then there was some talk, and then it was roll a D100.
Right.
So I don't think it was ever really fleshed out how we were traveling there, but it is some sort of ship that's not ours.
Cool. So yeah, then you can do that if you have once you have some kind of time for yourselves. Some data loom, cut data har. That might have that information. Let's see. What's done here?
Ecclesiarchy's probably going to have it all.
Yeah.
They'd have it all firewalled off, so it wouldn't be access to really anyone.
You can find it.
So, I say we just go and kick down the door and say, "Yo! You over there, put down the altar boy, come here."
Yeah, that's gonna work. But why would they be willing to talk with us?
It's gonna sound really cliched, but pilgrims or wealthy benefactors or
I think they are very influential as is. I don't think they'll be looking for benefactors, but pilgrims, that's a good dice. We could draw on that. I could draw in as a pilgrim priest. My character has pretended to be a ecclesiarch member most of his life.
you'd probably be able to then get a little bit further in than anyone else.
Maybe the idea would be like, because the ecclesiarchy doesn't do a lot of data rooms, right? Especially most of their
Yeah,
close
yeah, it's
started.
all written. It's written in Villium or something.
Scrolls,
These-
books,
Yeah,
which is a bit both good and horrifying, because the best security measure is when it's so much shit you don't know where to start. You can't just control F a library.
maybe they use the Dewey Decimal System and they have a reference section
Mm.
and they don't just stack it on a shelf.
They most likely have like I forgot how it's called, but a boot for all books where it says, "Hey, this is here, this section is here," stuff like that. A ledger, yeah.
Yeah, if only you could rewire a servitor.
Mm. That's true.
But then the servitor is going to know what exactly you're looking for.
Yeah. Either way, we have to make our way to a repository of knowledge in the Basilica. Hopefully, there's something there. If not, we could always listen to whatever there are. Some people may attempt to speak in hushed tones or stuff. Maybe we get lucky that way. It's not likely, but in case of, I mean,
Yeah, I saw you logged on earlier, Aaron, with when I was on the map. That it doesn't matter that that you saw that map. It's not really important.
Oh, right, yeah, I know which one you're talking about. To be honest with you, I didn't really pay that much attention to it.
Yeah, it's no worries.
So I had about 14 different tabs open at the time anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready to go if you are. Don't tell me you both made the non-combat characters and rolled a 93.
I mean, mine is more of a support.
I'll give you 3 more minutes while I get some more water and then we begin.
But and to spend that XP, I got very wisely.
he said he rolled 100. That's like 7 worse, so, you know, I think they should cancel each other out. He likes you better than me, so you should put that to him.
Bruh, you remember what my rolls for enemy encounters, Stefan? And there's a reason why I haven't rolled a lot after that.
In my defense, they were sitting there going, "Will I roll the last one? Will I roll the last one? Will I?" Oh, for fuck's sakes, don't. See what happens when you just don't take action.
I don't jealous too much.
Says, do you see what happens whenever you let essentially the child of the party near the burning stove?
Bruh, deadass. The child of the party is also the senior acolyte.
That's why we haven't solved this yet.
Fun.
Yes. What are you doing?
Oh,
Kick over their sandcastle.
Alright, I'm back. It sounds like we are ready.
Yeah, fuck it. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. Let me just change the name here. Character.
Fuck.
What? He's attached to you.
Alright, I think we're ready to go. I think that's it. Are you here, Tavi?
Yep.
Okay. Then I will roll a little dice. Excellent. Okay. So we can begin with I don't think either of you need a summary. Really? Do you?
I feel like I do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
So you you're on Juno to try to solve the pandemonium. This is what everything is led to. You have the release insights at the Pellucid Tower on Juno is where Deruli, who you've been trailing for years and years, where he was burned because he tried to break into the Pellucid Tower. He was an old inquisitorial agent, a sage, and he tried to gain some knowledge in the Pellucid Tower. But something happened. Earlier Druli had accessed an Eldar device that allowed him to enter multiple timelines, essentially. And one of his iterations is with you now, back to Juno. The current prefect on Juno has no knowledge or experience with Druli, or his entire history, which you don't know exactly when it played out. The Pellucid Tower contains some ancient technology as it was built pre-Imperium. You know that the prefect is living there, as well as his advisors, and the counselors are his actionable tentacles into the sector. They move and affect things and run Juno, and in turn Juno runs the sector. The counselors have some connection to a mutation, which is a xenomutation, which is being used by someone. It is a tool, it's not an entity in itself. So it's like a form of technology, right? It's something you use to accomplish something. Who exactly that is unknown to you so far. But you know that the counselors have been manipulating things on Juno, unbeknownst to the prefect. The prefect seemingly grew tired of this and then arranged for all of them to meet in Visuna Regis against their will. The Inquisition, you were called there. Not a coincidence that you were there, obviously. Someone in this sector wants you to resolve these issues of the conspiracy. So there is some conspiracy on Juno that is operating in the shadows, and this mutation, Xeno mutation, is spreading. Xeno artifacts are spreading. Heresy is exploding, and seemingly the prefect or whoever else is in charge is calling on you to try to resolve this. Your Inquisitor is working with Wilhelm, the arbitrator marshal on Juno, to try to investigate the counselors, because the vigil, the arbitrators, can't interfere in council business. So the prefect is the only one who can investigate them, obviously using the Inquisition, which is you, and you're doing that now. So you're investigating them and everything else on Juno. Everything is suspect, and you're trying to find out who is working with these unseen powers. What are these unseen powers, and how are they? What is the pandemonium in that context? What is going on in the Pellucid Tower that no one knows about? What did Druli try to uncover? What exactly is still going on there? Then you have the obviously a secret cult who was trying to uncover. Oh yeah, and then there's the Old Brood, which is the military of the prefect, completely isolated from everyone else. There are two moons, Pottergrim and Chaldean, run by two of the counselors. There is rumors of Eldar communication coming from outside. There is also the history of Kashimi, the trainee of Druli. Kashimi was a trainee who went insane, and he began looking into the pandemonium, studying it. And it is Druli's theory that this cult is still active on Juno in some way, and it is called the Abyssian Witnesses. The Abyssian Witnesses. I'm gonna write that in your chat. I know it's getting advanced, it's getting complex, but that's the way we like it. Alright. You're flying on your spaceship on the way to Basilica Valerius. And I'm going to say it's a pretty big trading vessel. You are disguised as Vigilites. As you move onto the ship, you can imagine like a medium-sized, large interplanetary vessel. It is going to the Basilica, containing hundreds of dignitaries, important people from around the sector who are visiting this heart of the ecclesiarchy. The Ardenti Zealots guard both the history of the Imperium here as well as the local mythos surrounding Valerius, a saint said to have buried the threat that was about to extinguish humanity from Juno. So kind of a recent history with Valerius. You don't know all the details of it, but the cult of Valerius are militant and very strong. Obviously, the emperor is numero uno, but Valerius is one of the guys that they hold up as a local saint, as a local hero. You have kind of gone onto the ship, you've made yourselves comfortable, and I'm gonna say you've been there for a few hours, and as you're entering orbit, flying about, you have an exquisite suite. We will just have to imagine that there's no planet outside, just the surface of the world. You have a place to yourselves, and I want you to do a commerce test to see how much of your resources you can pull together to get the best possible spot. Although Vigilites are treated well, obviously, on this vessel, in order to, because you are special investigators, in order to get a very secluded and safe, emphasis on safe space, I want you to do a commerce test.
Was this commerce test in regards to negotiating with someone?
Is to get a more expensive lodging. Basically.
Failure of -1.
Success with 11.
What the fuck? Okay, so here's the deal. Nicholas, you argue to you show evidence that you've been given a special mission assignment by the Marshal. The other people who recognize you, the other Vigilites, confirm your mission. So when you're at the checkpoint, they point to you, the local guards go over, interview you, you explain that you're on a very important assignment from the Marshal, and the other Vigilites all confirm it. You're given a luxury suite with several rooms, expensive food, organic, real food, huge windows where you can look out and see this vast landscape of Juno as you fly over, with its endless swamps, first green, a lot of terraformed areas around Vesuna, and then it turns kind of barren, and you see some just wasteland and polluted wastes as far as you can see. And as you're driving peacefully over this tranquil, huge landscape, we can begin with both of you in this luxury suite with Comotis.
As it has been some time, a couple of hours since we've all made comfortable in this suit. Nicholas himself is wearing still his sigillite paraphernalia, alongside with the portable altar on his back that emanates blessed. sweet-smelling incense. As his hands caress the full-bodied bottles of Amerset, he stops at one of quite high prestige and quite good vintage, as he, in a highly connoisseur manner, grabs the bottle, unseals it, and with a lack of any apparatus, bites down on the cork and with a sweet pop releases the Amerset's smell to permeate throughout the room as he places wine glasses for all available acolytes and pours for each one of them.
Love it. You get an inspiration point. Franz.
Franz will be. He'll be sitting on the sofa, just leafing through what he called this data slate, trying to get the head right from what he called the current mission. Whenever he hears the pop of the crate, he'll actually, the bottle, he'll slowly lift up. As the smell hits him, you'll see a slight smile creep across his face. As the glass is put down, he'll pick it up, tip it to one side ever so slightly, straighten it up, and see the legs of the Amasek slowly roll down before taking a sip, swilling it in his mouth, and just swallowing.
Awesome.
Yes, the faithful hear the call of the Holy Communion. As he takes a swig, not from a glass, but from whatever remains of the bottle.
So I'm gonna say it's early morning, and you're watching this orange glow dance across this barren landscape. Occasionally you will see some water or some ruins from some outposts, maybe a crashed ship, and the ship is flying very fast. You put up your data slates or your cogitators, and you will see that you're approaching the basilica pretty quickly.
Noticing that they're approaching the basilica at a rather uncomfortable speed, given the surroundings. What do you call Franz will look up from the slate at the Nicholas and basically say, and sadly, all good things must come to an end too soon. So, how exactly do you want to play this? Pilgrims, or are you going to slip into an old role?
I believe, as he says, stroking the white streak of hairs on his beard, I shall partake my old days as of a neat, lazy artisan priest, coming in search of wisdom regarding the new things of this place, to broaden my horizon. This may chance will offer me greater insight about the Basilica's doings or the planet's history that we are lacking. What are you yourself, Hans?
I think that myself and Odysseus glance over at Morrigan and say, my good wife here are just humble pilgrims come to see the great basilica of the Ascalon sector.
You put your feet on the velvet carpet. It is dyed deep crimson, and it muffles every time you shuffle your feet. You smell this incense drifting from servo sensors behind you. Floral oils reek of steam. It smells exquisite. As you look around, the luxury and the comfort of the room sends this calming wave through you. There are plasteel arches like bone, brushed smooth, wall-length windows, a panoramic view of the landscape slowly shifting behind you.
As you say that, he trots an eyebrow, nods, and say, "Dream business or a family matter?"
A divorce, let's say.
Must have been a nasty divorce if you both ended up working for the Inquisition. As he pops over the counter his previous armor with devotional iconography of ecclesiastical nature, about to change the armor plates of the sigillite with his old ones.
Awesome.
You'll see a slight smirk in on Franz's face and say, "Yes, we decided just to stay as colleagues." So it is, and you can definitely tell that it's part of the ruse.
He looks at you for a second, pauses, and you see a slight smirk as his lips open, and you could see the spaces between his crooked teeth as he says, as he listens to you and he pieces the things together. Nevertheless, Franz, the current individuals on board are not of ill repute and not of major influences. They may have visited the Basilica in the past, and this is merely something to garner influence with their colleagues. Perhaps we could talk with some of the passengers, influential ones, see perchance if they have anything to tell us. People that are more willing to talk with pilgrims or Vigilites, ways to access more exotic materials. The nobles do desire to boast, and none are more boastful than minor nobles.
Can't hurt. So it can't. Probably best to stay away from the higher ranks, especially as he waves his hands down, dressed like this. Well, I'm not going to solve anything sitting in here. At this, he'll turn to Morgan and say, "You know what to do," and she'll just get up and walk out the door without speaking a word. Okay, Nicholas, let's go to work. See what we can find out about these people.
As you see him finishing all of his preparation on his older work plate, he nods quickly, takes a sip of the Amerset bottle, realizes it's empty, holds it above his mouth like a man that has been strapped in the desert for months, as a single drop of Amerset manages to touch his lips, and then after that, a good vintage, and throws the bottle behind him.
As you walk out.
Halfway out through the door, Franz will stop, turn back to the cabinet, take out another bolt of Amasek and go, "You never know."
Wise man. A wise man indeed.
And then exit the room.
Awesome.
Checking both directions and heading towards the most crowded area.
Hmm.
A
Sorry, you have...
conversation with.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
See if he can strike up a conversation with one of the patrons on the ship.
Awesome.
Like, oh, is this your first time? So on and so forth.
As you walk into the crowd, you try to just casually talk to people standing around, and the ship is close to landing. You look around in the crowd, there are hundreds of people coming here. And you see among the crowd several people dressed in dark robes with like leathery armor underneath, scowling in your direction. You don't know exactly why. They seem to be just walking around the crowd. Occasionally they stop, look in your direction again, but you've noticed them. And yeah, then they disappear again. I want you to do a awareness test at -40.
-40.
If there is any point at all.
Can both of us do so?
Of course.
Feel you're -3.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I can try using a faith on a 5%.
You have an inspiration.
Inspiration for a 5% chance?
I mean, you don't have to. You can, but you don't have to. That was a stupid thing of me to say. I mean, that's always true, but you know.
Sorry,
you know
I actually
saying.
have an inspiration.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry,
no.
I'm gonna re-roll mine then.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have higher chances, then do so.
-40. Success with 2 additional.
Let's go.
Very nice. You're gonna see shady looking character with no hair, a scar across his forehead. He walks over to another man, takes off his hood, and has a very determined look. He has a skull. There's like a deep brown crimson hood and robe. A huge aquila, almost like a necklace around his neck, as well as leather armor underneath his robe. He takes off his hood and talks to a hooded man who has one glowing eye. He looks over in your direction, and as soon as you spot him, both of them
Nicholas, did you happen to see that?
I've only seen the movements of the figure. I'm too embedded within the pose of the bystanders that keep rummaging around. I could not keep track of them.
Any idea who would be wearing leather armor, a massive aquila, and probably quite high spec augments?
Have you seen any Xenos-like artifacts upon them?
Any of you two can do a where is that? An Assassinorum test. I believe that's a common lore test.
Infused knowledge?
No, it's Forbidden Lore, Officia Assassinorum.
Oh, no.
Don't have it.
Don't have it either.
You don't immediately recognize
Does
it.
Underworld suffice? With a higher...
No.
No.
Unfortunately.
I don't have Assassinorum.
They disappear. You know the general direction they went, but they're quite quick and they're moving through the crowd. What do you do?
I think this is a matter worth pursuing, Franz.
I think, to be honest with you, yes. If anything, there'll be security on this ship, so if something kicks off.
I shall assist you with the best of my abilities. I shall converse with you and redouble our efforts.
Okay, well, they went this way, so just follow me.
Okay.
Franz is going to start slipping through the crowd, trying to keep an eye on where they actually went and for anyone else that looks like them.
Do any of you have an especially easy time moving through crowds?
Not really, no. No.
I don't have a custom to crowds.
Okay. I want both of you to do a... or either of you can do a survival test. With a -20.
Oof.
I'll give it a bash. Nah, failure -5.
But you really try to pursue them, right? They're going into a private hallway, so they're using a punch card that everyone who has a pass can go enter. They open it and walk through into the hallway. You reach the door just as it's closing, and you can hear them like jogging into the hallway.
With this, Franz is going to stop and go with the microbeat and say, Nicholas, yeah, I'm not comfortable getting into a corridor if this turns into a fight. Says they have us outgunned. We'll just have to make sure that we're aware and hope they don't get the drop on us, I feel. Unless you want to go for it. And he's got his foot in the door.
It's a white door. The hallway is also entirely white. The room that you're in is like a big room. There's a red carpet. Hundreds of people.
Have I seen the card they have used? The punch card?
Yeah, it's they use a pass card. Anyone who has a room on the ship and who doesn't sleep in the lobby has one of these pass cards. It can be opened with any room key.
Well, my friends, use our own room key for it.
Alright, you use your own room key and the door slowly slides open, revealing a long white hallway. You could just see the feet of the one of them running away.
Blast. Should double time it.
Okay? So...
if he's double timing it, I'll double time it after him.
Okay. I want you both to do an athletics test.
Oh, you know it.
See how you do.
Oh, failure, what?
Do you need an inspiration? Starts with 2.
Sick?
Save your inspiration. I have a feeling we'll need it. Or you'll need it. Or I'll need it.
You know what? Should I attempt to heft you? As we run?
Screw it. Yeah, I'll take your inspiration then if it's still on the go. Let me feel this game. Success with 2.
Nice. Both of us successes with 2.
Ooh, okay. As you pass the corner, you will see them like stopping and breathing heavily. One of them is out of shape. It's the guy with the shaved head. He stops, and as the other guy turns around, you just like stop at the corner of the wall, and if you just take one more step, you'll be standing right behind one of them. He stops and says something. You hear like a muffled sound through a rebreather. I think they're gone.
I'm gonna try to do something silly.
Okay.
Could I attempt to slither as close as possible to one of them and quickly grab one by the arm?
Yes, of course. The bald guy is standing right in front of you. He has his back to you, just standing in the corner. You ran so quickly that you, just as he stopped, you stopped. And he did not hear you. You can see the back of his collar.
As the back of his neck is suddenly feeling the pressure of these leather, heavy, crisp like leather collar suddenly washing over his neck as Nicholas puts his hands on his back as he says, "We're made of sturdier stuff."
As you grab him, you hear, "Ah! No!" And his friend over here will raise his weapon immediately. You're surprising them, so you can do something if you want.
I shall raise my weapon at him immediately and say, "Okay, everyone, just take a breath."
I beckon you to think calmly of this. We already have one of your allies as hostage. We do not know your nature. Lower thy weapon.
He's gonna aim at his friend, the Psychoblade. The guy that you're holding. You suddenly hear this growling voice. "Let me go!" And I want you both to do a willpower test plus 10.
That's another failure with 1 additional.
If you fail, you do a fair one test, please.
Man, I've got jaded.
I have
Cool.
adamantium.
You got jaded too?
No, adamantium.
Oh, okay, okay.
It decreases the degrees of failure to maximum of 0,
Yep,
equal
yep.
to willpower bonus.
Faced by his threat, the Feral Fang Marauder aims a strange-looking gun at you. He like walks sideways. You can just hear him whispering into his microbead.
I then look at him and say, "Who are you with? The Serpent's Fang?"
"We don't know you. Let him go."
Yet you have made so many approaches towards our personage. We've seen you stalking us, whispering, watching.
You can see his face as he takes off, or as his hood sort of slips a little bit as he walks sideways, holding his gun with both hands. It looks like a a weapon of a Xeno origin. It's not a human weapon. It's like glowing orange bluish at the top, and you can see like a pulsating orb inside of it. If you let him go, I will lower my weapon.
Though your weapon will let him go.
If you wish for the Emperor's love, the love must come from you first. Show what act of goodwill, and honor shall be bestowed upon you.
He scowls under his hood. Who are you? I recognize you.
Well,
He lowers his weapon to just aim like below your feet, basically. Right in front of your feet.
lower. In fact, why don't we turn that thing off?
As he lowers his weapon slightly, the person I'm holding, I release my iron grip just slightly, so he could breathe and he could notice the gasps of air becoming more plentiful.
The guy that you're holding, you need to do a strength test, please. Opposed strength.
Is it to maintain the grapple?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Love me wrestler trait.
Let's see.
Oh, I'm gonna use that inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Strength.
Wrestler allows me to use
Ooh,
athletics
yeah,
instead
yeah,
of
okay.
strength.
Sick. You hold him. He tries to get his blade free from his belt. So he tries to pull up a blade. You just hug him with your gigantic muscles.
As the other hand wraps over the one he attempted to reach his holster with, he says, "Not so fast now."
He groans. You can see at the back of his ear, there's a clear sign of mutation going into his neck. He is mutated. This is a serious mutation. The other guy standing in front of you lowers his weapon. Okay, you win.
Nicholas looks at the assailant and looks at Franz, awaiting his order.
Okay, well, you cannot say that we're not men of our word.
He slowly lowers his weapon.
Francis keep what he calls still pointing his bolt pistol directly at him.
Yeah, he tries to walk sideways slightly to make your aim worse. Now let him go.
I whisper to the one I'm restraining, "Lucky you, your friend decided to play nice," as I release him slowly.
He will just take a little skip and then turn around looking over his shoulder. He's not shaken at all, he just walks calmly. And as he turns around, you spot an orange-red shimmer from his eyes. There is also some cracking on his skin. There's like almost like his mouth has dried up. There's like these scorch marks going down his mouth and down his neck. He turns around, his neck stretched and dried. He puts up his hood again.
So, you're the mutants that are being hunted, are you?
He looks over his shoulder. Being a mutant is not illegal, is it? We're from the Vale.
Depends what system you're in, I suppose, but it's a bit of a rather moot point. I'm assuming that yous are the ones that are being rounded up.
He looks at
Why
both
are
of
you
you.
here?
You're Vigilites. We have broken no law.
I've known that you're right. Being a mutant is not illegal. However, I've seen your friend here. Such deviation from the blessed human genome are rare and terminal. Status as human is under question, and if you're aware where this ship is heading towards, well, I do not understand why you would take such risks.
We seek blessings from the confessor and the preacher, Ahud.
Why would he give blessings to mutants?
He looks at his friend, looks back at you. Why would he not give blessings? That is why people pilgrimage to the Basilica. They say any mutation can be cured with sufficient faith.
Where have you heard such a rumor from?
He hesitates for a second. There is one, an exiled savant. If you don't believe me, ask around. He, according to myth, can cure any mutation, even mine. He usually operates out of High Lane, but he recently made his way to the Basilica. He's trying to regain access.
Who is this individual?
He goes by the name Juno.
Like a planet.
And he's trying to gain access to the Basilica.
He has been exiled. He was once part of the ecclesiarchy. Now, he only blesses from below. They won't allow him back in. Apparently he found something they didn't like.
Fran's gonna look at Nicholas and basically say, should we tell them? And then he's gonna look back at the mutants and say, I believe it would potentially be safer if you didn't go to the Basilica.
We are well aware of Ardentus's burning pyres, his hatred of mutants. We won't be seen. Don't worry about us.
If it only... Let's just say that the interests of your genome friend and ours align.
He looks at you curiously. You're aligned. How so?
And with
Yeah,
this,
but-
Franz will holster his bolt pistol.
The Vigilite has seen many reports of mutants as well as unsanctioned sighters being smuggled from the Basilica. We're here to investigate this.
So, you're not staying in Visuna Regis? I take it you're not going back?
We go wherever our job dictates us.
And who do you work for?
Thought that
For
would be rather evident who we work for.
For the Grand Judge.
The judge? He raises an eyebrow inquisitively. The judge? Zax? You know Zax?
Well, more of a friend of his.
They look at each other. Huh.
They've
It's a small
been
world.
willing. Indeed. I believe you are under a similar patronage.
They look at each other, look back at you. Yes, one might put it that way.
Why have you been acting so strangely while on board?
We simply saw you following us and we ran. You know what they do with mutants when there is panic among the identity zealots.
Yes, but you were watching us first.
Staring daggers almost.
Yeah, it's almost as though you had a dislike. People you've never met before.
You look different. You stood out. That is all.
I take that as a compliment.
You may. He nods. The Emperor light shine on you.
May it also do upon you, but as a gesture of goodwill, I wish that you seek my warnings and be vigilant.
At the word vigilant, his eye twitches. He looks at you because he is short of breath. Thank you for that warning. We will be careful.
As he looks at, as Nicholas looks at Franz questioningly, as if he asking him, got any more you want to say to these creatures?
Oh, perhaps we'll meet you again whenever we,
Thank you,
cross
Vigilite.
paths with Juno.
I hope that we have answered your questions to your satisfaction. I swear that we are only seeking blessings from the Basilica, and to heed the words of Horus.
Well, what I would suggest is you pass our warnings on to the rest who are with you.
We will.
Okay, well, Emperor be with you.
You as well. He puts on his hood, and they both walk away.
This Juno guy, wish I could have met him. Yeah, they did not seem to know exactly where his location was at.
Don't suppose you happen to get the frequency they were on?
No, I myself do not know how to, machine spirits and all that. The only spirits I believe in are within bottles.
That's unfortunate, I'm not.
You hear a loud voice announcing the arrival at the Basilica Valerius in 5 minutes. Please be seated.
I believe we would better find ourselves a nice spot.
And you'll just hear Franz curse, as what he called, he's not able to pick up any kind of frequency or anything like that. And we'll follow Nicholas to go and find a seat.
Awesome. Sounds like Nicholas will be right back. Okay. Yeah, we take a toilet break. And as you walk back into the large hub of the ship, you will hear it land on the planet.
Just head to the toilet. I'll type up these notes when we get back. Give me 2 minutes.
Yeah. You land at a platform outside of the basilica. As you look over in the direction of the basilica, it is quite late, dark, and you see a Arch-Cardinal Harus rules over this sector synod. Several of them correspond to one of the region's subsectors, and several other lesser holdings. The basilica's main nave is a spacious cathedral that can hold thousands of worshippers at any time. Its inner walls are lined with gallery chapels set aside for the ruling class. There are spaces for hundreds of people in each cathedral. There's a pilgrim's transept for visiting pilgrims. There is a chamber of purity used by the zealots, the religious fanatics who worship Saint Valerius. And there is the main basilica, Saint Valerius Basilica. There are ecclesiarchy officers patrolling the streets. You can see people high up among the walls on balconies. Chambers sealed against an air vacuum beyond. This is the synod of the Adeptus Ministorum of the sector. You will see, as you walk down from this platform, an elevated platform just outside the basilica, where ships land and then take off immediately after emptying. A series of hundreds of steps bells tolling in the distance. You can hear this loud gong. And as soon as you walk off and look into this landscape, these huge arching Gothic cathedrals, the flame of St. Valerius is lit, and you can hear a procession of red-robed priests. As you walk off the ship and look onto these cathedrals, they are bathed in a red light, a red morning light. You see silent flagellants forming a half circle before your lander, and a confessor who, as soon as you step out from the crowd and stand out, he bows in front of you. He has a red robe and he has a circlet on his head. He's bald, and he bows down to his knees and bows his head in front of you. He is clearly marked as a confessor, mid-ranking. He is like bowing 2 meters in front of you, and then behind him you will see the cathedrals and this huge square with plazas and gardens and hundreds of people. As the wind blows through his cape, he just sits there, bowing still. Honored guests. He slowly looks up. Servants of the vigil.
Raise your head, noble confessor, for I am not blind to your rank nor your piety.
We were made aware of your arrival. You are most welcome. He nods. The others spoke warmly of you. You are on a special assignment from Wilhelm. By command of the Most Reverend Archcardinal Harris. He slowly stands up, takes his pale hand and points behind him. These halls welcome the vigilites of the Emperor's scales. May thy judgment be steel, and thy silence holy. He bows, holds up an Aquila necklace. You see a crowd of malnourished pilgrims stare at you behind him, pale with the eyes sticking out of their skulls. As soon as you step out of the crowd, some of them spit on the ground, others kneel. Some Ardenti zealots nod in recognition.
It seems that some of the people here have different views regarding the vigil and the High Cardinal.
He seems perplexed, looks over his shoulder. Oh? Did someone not show the proper respect for our... He looks around and immediately the people who spat on the ground begin to kneel, bowing their heads. I sincerely apologize.
It may seem that at my old age I may have seen things that were not truly there.
I assure you, everyone will show you the respect that you deserve. Do you wish to stay here?
If we may, mighty noble confessor, where
He
would our
bows.
chambers be?
You may, of course, stay as long as you wish. I am sure. Although the Cardinal is very busy. Harus rules over many sectors. He's... Well, we have many preachers who, I am sure, would be more than willing to answer your questions. If you wish, I can follow you.
There is no need. However, if you'd be so kind, such a mighty basilica surely has many rituals in place. Is there anything of note that would, any communion, any perchance ritual of note that would happen anytime soon? I myself consider myself a devout member of the Imperial Creed and may wish to partake.
He nods intensely. Of course. First, I wish to show you where you may stay.
Of course. And after that, if you can just leave us a small itinerary of what happens on a daily basis. I'm sure you're an incredibly busy man, and as you know yourself, someone of your rank following around will put people at unease and not give us a true indication of how well things are run.
Of course. I will send someone to speak with you once you have settled. Please follow me. He begins walking down the stairs down to the basilica. You look in the distance and you see this red glow of the landscape behind the cathedrals. He's walking down to one of the small cloisters next to the basilica.
And Fran's just going to pipe up and say, having never actually been here myself, are these all mausoleums or are they more underground?
As you walk next to him and ask questions, he sort of brushes them off and... I'm simply here to show you to your lodgings. I don't know much about these sites. I am sure the Confessor will answer all of your questions.
I'm sorry, I'm just very interested in history, as it were.
He
I always find it
nods.
fascinating.
You step into a room with a mural of Valerius himself on the wall, lit candles, and a beautiful wood-carved furniture. There's a small bathhouse, like a little alcove with a tub of warm water. There's no running water, and there are some fruit, local fruit, on a basket next to the door. He opens the wooden door with a creak, lets you in. As you step in, you smell the smell of old wood. The candles flicker as you open the door and step in. It is eerily quiet. He stands by the door, smiles. If you need anything at all, you will find me outside. I hope that you will find peace, and in time will be visited by the blessings and the peace of our saint. He nods and begins backing out the door. The Confessor is waiting for you. You will find him at the Pilgrim Cathedral. At your leisure. Take your time.
Thank you. And Franz will close the door behind him.
He bows as he walks out. There are several small windows and you can see the street below, people walking. The streets are filled with hundreds of people.
As soon as the doors closes, Nicholas drops the altar he's carrying on his back and throws himself onto the bed. And as it does so, the bed creaks and weighs under his weight as he also lets out an unsatisfying grunt as he says, it certainly looks harder than it is. Believe me.
So, this is rather Spartan. I don't suppose we have to do any security checks here. At this point, he's actually sort of sitting there looking through any equipment that could potentially see for any bugs, realizing that he hasn't got a clue what any of these things do. He just puts them back.
Many serve but a decorative purpose, as I'm certain that our friend Neil here can attest. Only thing of true note is, as he looks at the iconography depicting the local saint.
Several other
Hilarious.
high-ranking guests, important guests, can be seen walking into the cloister that you're staying at. You will see some of them have heavy augmentations. These are clearly important people. They're being shown in the door and are staying in adjacent rooms. There are a total of 12 rooms.
So he said that he's waiting for us at the Basilica of the Pilgrim. What do you think would be the odds of checking out the main basilica first?
It is at our leisure.
Yeah, they'd say that, but it generally isn't.
Rarely is. But due to our ranking or either the organization we represent, it's more like a test of how willing we are to play ball. He says so as looking at the depiction of the Saint Valerius on the wall, and he thinks, has Nicholas ever read of any legends pertaining to this saint?
Absolutely, of course. And there are books in your room regarding Valerius and the Valerius story. Do you take the time to read them?
If you allow, Franz, I'd wish to skim through a bit through this.
By all means.
You open huge tomes containing information about Valerius. As you begin to hum and read, I want you to do a lore test ecclesiarchy.
Would scholastic lore imperial creed suffice?
Yeah.
It's more it's ecclesiarchy, but the scholastic version. Success before.
You're extremely well versed in reading religious texts, seeing through myth. You sit and read the myth of Valerius. It is said that he could cure illness. He performed a series of miracles, and you shift through and gather as much useful information as possible. A lot of it does seem like myth and hyperbolic. However, there are some things that stick out to you. You read that the Sororitas have presence here regarding an incident with warp creatures. This is a long time ago. There are also rumors that the Inquisition have visited the Basilica. They've been cleansed by the Inquisition, by the Sisters. There are also false prophets in the Age of Apostasy. These ecclesiasticals have existed for millennia. Horus, Archcardinal Horus, enforces very strict rituals. Daily confessions, public floggings for sinners, and massive festivals honoring the emperor's martyrs. There is also the story of Saint Valerius himself. Saint Valerius the Embered. You pick up various tomes that have conflicting stories, but the official one is taught by the Ardenti, Saint Valerius, the hollow tear of Juno. It basically says that he was born beneath the Basilica foundries to a parchment scraper and a reliquary clerk, and that his hands were stained with salt and chalk. At first he was a quiet boy, stuttering, often mocked by the catechisms. By 16 he stood out as having memorized every book from the lesser canticles, and by 20 he knew them all by hand. On a event near his 30th birthday, there was a vox failure at the chapel, and the lector was basically killed by a power surge. Through the panic, Valerius climbed up as the electricity scorched through burning bodies, people who were being burned from the inside out. Climbing up to the pulpit, he opened the Book of Dust, and as he began to speak, the electricity immediately disappeared and began dissipating into the walls. The people on the floor say that his voice was the only thing audible as he chanted and chanted for hours. The people present began worshipping him, and he led the entire synod through his voice. People witnessed that plague-ridden crowds, whatever ailment you had, the chant was, "Send us Valerius, let him walk with us." And Valerius's words cured the sick. He demanded to walk on foot, always alone, and he spoke to the damned, fasted, bled, and bound his fingers. And it is said that the emperor himself answered him. He then erected the main basilica and spoke before the High Synod. One of the myths is that as he spoke, all of the candles in the 1,000 altars ignited at once. The gold script on the basilica walls melted downward, as it still stands today, reshaping into a verse that no one had heard. the Identity Zealots argue about the facts of each of these events, but there are many. And the last one is that he sealed a tomb with a brazier. He went down into a tomb, and when the forces of chaos threatened the basilica, he drove them underground and fought against them with his voice alone. When he emerged, he was so scarred that he was dying, and some claim that this is what killed him. But he saved Juno and the sector through his sacrifice. There are a lot of stories like that, of heroic acts.
I'm certain that looking deeper, there would be also plethora of contradicting statements and upon other stories, but this is the most common agreed version.
The
of
end
events.
of how he died is the most commonly agreed upon, as well as the event where the lightning surge and he went on stage. There were many witnesses for that.
So these ones are basically set in stone, undisputable.
Yeah. Exactly how he drove Chaos underground, that is debated.
Interesting.
So, I don't suppose they're able to give, or you're able to glean a rough time scale on when this lightning would have happened and whether or not it would have had any correlation to the opening of the pandemonium.
I've studied the text of the ruling and his most recent apocrypha as he thinks about it. Recent, although best not to worry about it. Does any the surge of electricity match any of the dates that the pandemonium first struck the system?
Yes, it is very close. The cathedral and basilica there are records of vast building projects around the time when the pandemonium became a problem. When tides stopped coming in, when the storm had spread through the sector, that is around the same time as the basilica and these huge projects were undertaken.
And it alludes with when Valerius started the building of said basilica, of the main body of the basilica that now stands.
Yes.
So I suppose the question then is, if he drove the forces of corruption underneath, and then all this work was done afterwards, are they still down there?
Could be.
Are they corrupting the entire basilica?
Or perhaps they are still trying to fight it off. I do not know exactly. But if this version of events is to be believed, then Valerian was victorious and whatever corrupting forces were eliminated. thrown
this,
back into the warp.
With this, Franz will turn to the mural and go, "Yes, the heroes never fail in their duties."
Inspiration points.
But of
And
course,
with that, he'll whip round and say, "Just because he was partially successful doesn't mean that there's not something still down there, contained."
or something that threatens to re-emerge now that whoever is interested in reusing such accursed devices have recalled the warp storm once more upon us.
And if they are using psychers, and if they're killing them in that numbers, then could you imagine the psychic scream that's going into the warp?
More than likely, something is enough to attract the attention or to repel something via a very occult ritual bordering on the lines of heresy. Nevertheless, from this, as he closes the tome, we cannot gunner further. If anything, it's more of a very in-depth pamphlet. The real records must be somewhere within the Basilica. Mayhaps they even may hold records of the Abyssian witnesses or the tower.
As you flick through the book, you can do a scholastic lore legend test. -20.
Did it take more than 10 minutes for me to flip through this book?
Yes.
Success with 3 additional.
Very nice. A mural, as you flick through one of the books, stands out to you. It is a huge relief of Valerius's miracles. One of them kind of stands out. It's Valerius masking a glowing skeletal hand. He is not fighting it, just leaning in and holding his hands over it. It is emitting some kind of glow.
Interesting. I wonder what this is meant to depict.
It's the only thing that doesn't have any direct analogy to anything in the texts.
It is almost a depiction of the saint, but it doesn't speak of anything regarding this mural specifically. It's more like figure of the saint, number 15.
Exactly.
So it doesn't relate to any of the text before or after.
Yeah.
No, it's more used as a general depiction of him at this age. However, the small detail here, there's no mention about it, nothing mentioned about this session specific or what it symbolizes. Usually, Ecclesiastical's texts are filled with explanation and theories of different scholars. Yet this is treated like nothing more than a figure, a representation of a land.
To round up, we have a boy that was, well, let's just say not exactly the best scholar in the world, who then, by the age of 20, became the best scholar in the place. By the age of 30, had taken over says by the age of 31, sounds though he was committing miracles. And now we have this picture.
I wish to attract your attention to something, friends. This place is to be considered the highest of cloisters, bestowed upon only the most important personages that visit the basilica. Yet even this is kept at bay from the machine god's touch. There's no fanciful piece of technology, no nothing. These lightnings, these bursts of energies, I doubt it came from any generatorium or anything. I believe Valerian at age 20, and that's when he first fought against what later in life would bring him down.
Yes, that's kind of the sinking feeling that I'm having.
Yet they wished to master this. We do know that the sororitas and the Inquisition have maintained the sanctity of this place in the past, and that under the current leadership there are several rituals and acts that are meant to almost wash away the shame, if not to keep whatever is dark here at bay.
Were you able to ascertain when the last Inquisitional group was here? Or did it happen to give a name of their leader?
I doubt the Inquisition would allow such records to be kept.
Yes, I completely agree, but...
However, the sororitas militant group would more than eagerly maintain such records of their pious deed.
Because we know that Durelli's acolyte, well, he had Inquisitional support.
Perhaps. And if his acolyte would resemble...
And who was to say that they were here to help? And if the sororitas came after?
Either way,
although in saying that, the sororitas group on a... yeah, they should at least have some sort of records. There should be at least some sort of contingent.
It is without a doubt that the Rolli's acolyte was here, as this place have been touched by the impaired powers. Would no less be a fruitful ground for his research if the student were to mimic his master. Do we know of any movements of the sororitas? Any recent movements of the sororitas when they purged this corruption within the basilica?
Well, there's a long time ago. There's a long time ago. There's it's centuries ago. But there is evidence of recent Inquisition involvement. There is talk of some cooperation there, going back all the way back to himself.
As your life, Franz, there have been several actions taking place, but they're very sporadic. And it is true that such actions were even during Valerian's time.
I mean, we could be one to see what we want to see.
It starts to get brighter outside. You can hear birds chirping. There are some lovely gardens out of the windows. People begin to gather in the gardens, in the fountains, and in the distance you can see these dark cathedrals over the scorched sky.
Either way, I believe that we have took our time and shown to the confessor that, despite us willing to play ball, that we have our own priorities at bay. Nevertheless, I suggest we should visit him. There are many things I would like to pick his brains apart with.
I hope that's a euphemism to pick his brains, not pick his brains apart with.
Well, of course, unless sanctioned to do so, sir. As he once again straps the altar to his back.
As you stand up and walk around and get familiar, this place has polished stone floors, vaulted sleeping cells, as well as a large bed. There's a private altar as you walk around the corner. You suddenly see a quiet steward standing there with a white cloth over her hand. Yes, she has her face lowered and she has a shawl over her head. You also see furnings carved with aquilae. One wall mural depicts Valerius. And a note from Harris. A little scroll rolled up next to the symbol. It reads, "We offer stone, silence, and the saint's fire to our honored agents. May your stay be fruitful, your observations clear, and your actions inspired. You are not alone in these halls. Walk accordingly. Signed, Harris." You also get a meal and robes brought by your steward, who also informs you that weapons can be kept. You are here to uphold the peace, after all.
And with that, he'll actually, Franz will hear a sort of fuzz on the microbead, someone connecting to the local net. He'll turn to Nicholas and say, "Well, it looks like we have company. Our twosome became a threesome."
Indeed.
Yes, investigator, we're just having something to eat if you wish to join us.
Well, I'll be coming right round shortly. I heard obviously that it seems things may be going well. However, I'll have to get briefed and picked up on what we may or may not have found.
Well, at the moment, we're investigating the basilica for any signs of attempts to collude with different administrative bodies, or working as a staging ground for any possible heresies. At the moment, we are allowed to investigate at our pleasure, even allowed to arm ourselves, but we have been warned to play nice, as it were.
I see. Well, one of my favorite shady holy men seems to be dealing with some other shady holy men.
You will find that such two things are rarely apart.
I'll be approaching the entrance right about now. I'll be able to get through. They should allow me to keep my weapons and catch up with you. I should be there shortly. And it seems Saint Valerius, right?
He's within us all.
All right. I'll be catching up with you promptly. Coming soon. I got some of the extra data from where I just went, and Boyle will be in contact at some of the latter point, but for now is going to be preoccupied. Catching you in a few. Turns the comms briefly off, begins walking through the entrance.
Excellent.
So, do you think we can get some of that communion wine, or do you think that we'll have to stick with the water?
As you see his expression darken a bit, it is in drought that water tastes so much sweeter. Noble Franz.
At the mention of wine, the steward leaves the room. I will be back shortly. Closes the door.
I think I may have offended him.
Well, my house is looking to please the local Albites. Nevertheless, he has been quite cooperative, and I believe that we will be allowed a wide berth to our investigation.
The stewardess arrives with a pitcher of wine, puts it on the table. It is some fermented fruit. You're not exactly what, but it smells quite strong.
My many thanks. And he'll pour himself a glass and Nicholas a glass.
Believe it or not, this is not what it may seem. Franz, allow me to show you as he produces from the table another pitcher of sparkly water. Know how this amasec is white in coloration? Is seen that the putrefaction of the blessed fruit has been taken in a more direct manner and a stronger. As such, it is more bitter to the taste. Combine the twos as he places the half of the wine glass that you've poured on is poured upon another half of sprinkled water, and he says, now you have less fanciful but passable beverage. One that soothes both the body and the soul, and will allow you to hold communions while speaking with a straight tongue.
A small bird lands in the
from
window.
the experience.
Sorry. A small bird lands in the window and chirps as the light shines through.
Oh. Time seems to be moving on. Finish this, then head.
Yes, I believe Neil should be able to reach us any second now, so we may meet with the confessor.
And looking out through the window, what do you call it, he'll look at the basilica and go, well, it's not as though we can get lost.
If anything, we could ask our faithful servant as he eyes the person that has brought us the pictures.
It would be about at this point, Neil begins to do his blend of casual and formal marching in. And immediately, obviously, seeing his others, quickly decides to state, all right, I had little trouble getting in, and it seems you already have some meetings set up. Also, this place seems properly gothic.
With that, Franz will stand, will drain his glass with a we'll turn around to Nicholas, look at him, raise one eyebrow, put the glass down and say, unfortunately, investigator, you have missed breakfast.
Yes, apparently. However, depending on whether or not the breakfast was here or where we typically do, I might not have missed much. However, gladly, I have taken some of the different evidence we had from before, including that sample from the crime scene when we saw the counselor. Finally got to put it through process, and I had a brief conversation with our esteemed medical professional. He was as effective and ostentatious as ever, and then immediately ignored me and Boyle and went back into the study again with the door locked. Apparently he is excited to be getting more information, though, and he says he might have some insights for us, hopefully soon.
Okay.
Many researchers have their own muses. I'm certain that our patients with them shall be rewarded with the repurchase of intelligence.
Expression.
Also, I hope perhaps Nicholas's experience and typical zeal has been useful here. I noticed it seems to be obviously quite evident throughout the entire temple here.
Indeed. I have presented myself as none other than a faithful worshipper, as any other of us. Perhaps knowing a bit more. Nevertheless, we are about to test the full extent of our allowance upon this place, and
Right.
the kindness that is bestowed upon us by the bishops.
Quickly giving a glance behind, just to check if there's anyone around or nearby. Then looking straight back at, obviously, the priest, he begins to say, right, I imagine we have been given only limited permission. Is there any actual place of interest farther we have the ability to peruse, or are we thus far being kept out of anywhere too out of the ordinary?
Well, I would like to peruse the many records of this place, but I don't know whether or not we're allowed or where they are. For that, we will have to be meeting with the confessor, which we have a scheduled appointment with. And there are many discrepancy within the holy text that I would like some clarification from a man of a learned mind.
Yeah. So, essentially, long and short, no doors are closed to us, and some doors are closed to us.
Right.
And we'll have to walk through them or hit our noses with upon its hinges.
Seeming to give himself a little bit of a shake to wake up, and then getting back to a more proper stature. Looking over at the commissar and then making eye contact with the priest. Sounds interesting enough. I'll be glad to be able to assist where I can, but for now, obviously, I believe me and the commissar are going to have to, when it comes to dialogue with the particularly pious people here, allow Nicholas to take the lead with his one eyebrow up, looking directly at you.
I will have you know that I remember a vast majority from my time at the school.
True, but again, it may be a bad joke, but I remember hearing on my ship that you better be careful about saying the exact right phrase for Emperor's Day or you're going to get in very big trouble.
Nevertheless, I'm certain that Franz can question the confessor. There are many questions. I am only interested in some parts
Understood.
of the Imperial Trade's nature. Do not be afraid, Neil, as we are under the eyes of the vigil, and we are expected to put people under question.
Understood. As he begins to stand up again from where he temporarily sat down, and gives a little playful knock on the carapace armor he's wearing. However, begins to walk over towards the window and looking out where the commissar had before the large basilica. Hopefully we'll be able to get what we need and get out soon. While I don't want to be rude and too heavily suspect men of such service, even if they are all honest, we don't know if anyone else has had too much tampering nearby.
Indeed. Oh, by the way, put this on, and he'll throw him the robes.
Right. Certainly, one moment. Begins to usher over to get the attire properly on. And also says as well, I imagine we're presently in the waiting room then for this appointment, I hope?
It's but a private eating area.
Right. Begins to come out with the robes on. Makes a bit of a snarky remark about trying not to trip on them. And then begins to move over and sit down, saying, So, Nicholas, is this something that brings back certain memories for you, or...
Surely you jest. I've never been in charge of such a mighty basilica, nor was the Strolla, despite its magnanimous structure, designed to mimic the enormous piety that resides within the human soul. No, this is a structure that has been specifically designed to ensure that the force of the ecclesiarchy is present within this system.
Right, right.
I doubt we will ever see anything like this in our lives.
And while that does tend to at times conflict with the overall Imperium's authority, we, as members of the Vigil, have been allowed to try and take a peek, just to be able to hopefully get some of the authorities' mind at ease, as far as perhaps a lot of the people here are concerned, anyhow.
There's also something you might want to be interested about,
Yes.
While in transit, we have been, by chance, assuming a pair of cloaked figures to be stalking us.
Right.
You would be surprised that both me and Franz here, mainly due to his tracking techniques, were able to apprehend suspects. They were mutants, and they assumed that we were following them.
Understood.
Make
So-
no mis-
Go ahead, sorry. I was going to say some abnormal humans were seeming to be tailing me. Thankfully, you managed to subdue the situation, but I see.
Indeed.
Tailing us, maybe not tailing us, but if you hear anything about a gentleman called Juno, pay very close attention.
You know. Understood.
It
Begins to
seemed-
make clearly a mental note and looks back to the priest, clearly engaged and very eager to be able to find out.
And it seems that this individual under the planet's very name, Juno, has been spreading information within the mutant populace that the blessings given here by a certain individual are able to revert any mutations. And believe me that after being in such a close encounter with one of the peoples that we were pursuing, that their mutation puts their humanity heavily under question. And were this be any other emplacement of the ecclesiarchy, they would not be allowed to step foot before meeting the pyre within
of
this
course-
ground.
And in this city where we've found such hospitable company of recent, while trying to make certain that none of us catch anything too horrid. See.
Indeed, I believe that this Juno is also spreading the myth of the local Saint Valerius, who was known to heal people with merely his words and piety.
Right. The idea of a gospel reaching people and some of the desperate coming for some hope of assistance. While I do believe in the power of the Emperor, I worry there's somebody manipulating a lot of those who don't quite understand genetics here. Right.
There are many ways to channel the power of our God, but very few are capable of doing so at such a high magnitude. Very true.
Well, you can't go with too much of the laws that keep the universe together, and nearly everybody would be basically in trouble. I imagine, obviously, the Emperor definitely knows that, if not well more, depending on how obviously powerful and connected to the larger cosmos he is. However, as we begin to find out more about that, did you, when you again managed to speak with these, at the moment, without meaning to be too inaccurate, I would say possible assailants, did we find anything else out other than their involvement and intent? Was there any way to find out from them any possible connection to some larger organization or some sort of tangible thing we can try to work with or begin to track, hopefully? I'd love to be able to find out.
My sheer luck and slight moment of divine inspiration, I identified myself as a member under the employment of the judge, one of the council members, and the mutants looked at me with a familiar look. They were also under his employment.
Right. Did we get to find out anything more that perhaps, since the last meeting we got to attend with particular council members, might allow us to narrow some of our researches as he begins to very eagerly have a little bit of a shine or spark glint in his eye, and seems to be out of habit nearly reaching for some equipment or weapon that right now is covered beneath the robe.
Have you had the chance to peruse the transcripts of our interrogation? Of Raphael.
I've been trying to take a look over, yes. However, I do know at the moment we're still tried for time and trying to make certain our priorities are done in the proper order, especially before we try anything involving the moon. Since there's a few other things to try and address right now. Looking over at the Commissar, thinking about one of the last times him and Boyle were obviously trying to discuss their next moves. And then looking back at the priest. Hopefully. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you actually look across at Franz, you'll actually notice that he's wandered away slightly from you and is basically just slowly running his hand down the marble statue in the room and clearly not really paying full attention to what you say.
Right.
It's just with a look of, I suppose, concealed awe.
Well, admittedly, we are in a holy place. I suppose it could be expected, even if a bit out of character, maybe. He thinks to himself. Makes a bit of a mutter or a note of this. Seems to put on a little bit of a hopeful expression before swapping his gaze from Franz back to Nicholas. And begins to say, and of course, hope you don't mind, obviously, the prying again when it comes to your own background, yet from what you know or what you are used to, and knowing you thus far, any idea if there's anything involved with any different parts of here that tend to try to appraise the throne versus the thrones, with a smirk on his face?
He folds his hands, looks down, and tries to think, analyzing. Obviously, they offer more favorable treatment to influential members of his many courts. But other than that, everything is well hidden.
Right. I was going to say, if we are able to find any flow of actual currency, and or how they may or may not attempt to handle, we'll say, especially public relations or even relationships with the government, we would have somewhere to be able to look a bit more deeply into. I'd recommend strictly additionally to everything else we're already beginning to sort through before we see the confessor, and perhaps after, we keep our eye out for that. I know you, of all people, certainly understand what I'm trying to get at, but yes.
I can tell you this, that the moment when we arrived there were different opinions. They already know about our identity as vigil officers, as this is an official matter. Yet some of the people here were less predisposed to our arrival here than others.
Not so keen, with a eyebrow raised.
Indeed. Yet it seems that the official message is that we are welcomed here, and the confessor would have severely punished whoever did not show reverence. Yet we could not help but notice.
Begins to sort of briefly twiddle his fingers over the table, seeming to be mulling over one or two different thoughts.
I believe that much like the council, there may be several factions at play.
Understood. Hopefully we'll be able to have another one of our associates begin to get contact soon, and we can try to relay what we know, find out the rest, and make certain that we're covered on our way out. However, before we actually do meet this confessor, is there any actual information or background or impression we thus far have of him individually? Or will our meeting be the very first opportunity?
We have seen him once we landed. He has shown quite a high level of reverence. Even that above of the one expected for someone of his status. While being mid-ranking, well, he has shown us courtesy that some would believe to be over-dramatized or showing a greater importance than it actually is upon our personages.
Right, mid-ranker, elevated zeal, and people believing in great powers and miracles via apparently good word. Interesting. He begins to record, obviously, some of this, it seems, in one of the data pads or slates he keeps to be able to make certain that things are in proper order for reference later. Swaps it right back under the robe into the rest of his gear. Looks over and goes, I believe we do have a good setup here. Thank you for the briefing. I'll make certain that we have this data recorded first, and that we obviously can get more once he finally arrives.
On the chance I would not be able to assist you in our sitting here, as I will have to also partake in several matters regarding the investigation. I wish you to be cautious. Do you know what the difference is between a fanatic and a corrupt priest?
I have known generally.
Well, let me tell you this. There are none. They will both kill you without hesitation for the throne.
Right. I heard that there was a difference at bare minimum in, of course, either where you begin with their actual intent or where they're trying to head to, depending on their actual loyalties. But I can understand what you mean then. They're nearly indiscernible. But yeah, indistinguishable from each other, apparently.
Indeed. I believe that, much like the council, they're either within cahoots with sinister powers looking for profit, or are actually fighting something that is here, and in doing so are not painting a pretty picture of themselves yet. Fighting the corrupt rarely comes without any sacrifices. But
I
we have
see.
to see whether they're friend or foe as well.
Well, understandable, especially thus far. Also, I can imagine that since I managed to get that patch through, and with the present time we may or may not have before the confessor arrives, hopefully we can manage some communications without getting caught, hopefully soon. Looking again briefly around, where you are, outside the window, with a quick glance behind. Says, what do you think we have for time? Looking over quickly and allowing a bit of eye contact to try and address, obviously, said priest.
I don't know. Yet I am aware that the Confessor is at our disposal for now. A test of faith, as it were. See how disposed we are to playing by their tune.
Again, understood, but how much time do you think we have for the Confessor to arrive? Was there any indication? Or is it he could
No.
show at any moment?
No, we have to reach the meeting point. We go to him, after all. Is his house, as it were.
Understood. And once we do, I imagine we'll be in direct engagement with him for any amount of time, rather than presumably short or long.
Yes. Well, I believe that he will be continuously at our disposal. Yet anything higher, or a person of higher status than him, may be beyond our reach. Unless we shake things up or force him to lift us. To lift our voices higher towards the heavens, as it were.
Understood. How much do you believe he openly may or may not know? He leans in a little bit closer about, as I mentioned, more contagious inhabitants and these apparent mutants who have been coming for some means of actual salvation in some way. If we mention this, do you think he will respond cordially, or do you think maybe we would end up being under more suspect?
I believe that he's here to ensure that the will of the Cardinal is enacted at all levels within the cathedral. I believe we can run a plethora of subjects by him and figure out what the official story is, or how the Cardinal would like to view things.
Right.
I believe that he would allow many an inquiry.
And when you came in, you said, sorry, do go ahead. I was going to ask one thing, I'll add that at the end of this.
I believe that as much as we are gonna ask him and he reveals the status quo here and the purpose of this place, we will also be revealing our own loyalties and whether or not we are a threat ourselves. It is unavoidable. We will both be interrogating each other. We will listen to their answers and they will listen to our questions.
Understood. Anything could get us in the right direction, yet could also give us away. Good to understand a bit on the present tension and stakes. Debate whether or not on your call we can try to make a quick comms call to someone who may be able to provide us some more extra support and expertise, or if we should first proceed on to the Confessor, looking over and checking for the Commissar now and seeing if he's rejoined them as he says this.
Yeah. So, are we good? As he's obviously what he called being caught off guard and rather flustered.
Understood. Well, again, presently, while we obviously matter and are part of the team too, I was going to refer at the moment to the priest's expertise due to our present locality. I was debating whether or not it makes sense to quickly make a call through comms. I believe one of our other warband members should be present if we can get some other expertise or views on what we're going to do, or if we should wait to do that after first engaging the Confessor, who apparently is waiting for us right about now.
Sorry. Yes, call in the extra members just now. Bear with me for 2 seconds.
Understood.
And you'll see him actually cut comms to the rest of yous.
Right. Again, glad that they're still in the same vicinity and keeping his eye over on his friend. Neo looks while the Commissar begins to still engage, obviously, with the priest, telling Nicholas, I'll begin to make the calls now. However, I believe there might be one other thing to address again from what I heard when coming in. I was going to say when you mentioned how you didn't get quite from a lot of those here, didn't seem that keen on the vigil. And I was going to ask about, again, any details on mutant presence that was in any way noticeable or not. There's also one other thing, I believe. The relationship or dynamic between this particular place of the ecclesiarchy and their opinion on machines, particularly the Omnissiah.
And just as you finish that sentence, you'll hear Franz shout, rather at the top of his voice, "Well, Throne, damn it, then I'll do it myself," says, and then what he called will cut comms, turn round to them and say, "Unfortunately, I have been called away to deal with a, shall we say, situation of our colleagues' makings. It turns out that we're not the most incompetent team out there, regardless of what the Confessor says."
Right. Interesting. For certain.
Morrigan, you're up.
Morrigan steps up, and as she walks into the room, just standing from the opening of the door, the lights begin to flicker in reverse. Briefly, and they return to normal.
Neil, in response to this, quickly has a micro reaction that some might just notice. Of course, being a little bit caught off guard and trying, despite the lights flickering, to get a quick shot at all their surroundings. His eyes begin to land on Morrigan as he looks extremely curious.
You'll see her
Right.
You'll see her dressed in basically a black cloak. It'll have the hood of the head will be down. You'll be able to see that her lips are sewn shut. She has a leather collar around her neck. You can see underneath her clothing the padding of some sort of carapace armor. And apart from that, she doesn't seem to have any weaponry at all. As she takes a step forward into the room, whenever she lifts her foot, you can actually see that seems to be a little tiny bit of frost left behind, which quickly dissipates. And as she lifts her hands to her throat, you'll hear a tinny voice coming out and saying, "My apologies. I was not meant to intervene at this early hour."
It is quite the interesting juncture, admittedly. Looking over at her and clearly being intrigued, and definitely getting that look you've seen him get before, where his inquisitiveness, ironically, we could say, begins to rise quite a bit.
Regina lost it from a pattern, lighting it with an incense that has been plucked from the altar he's carrying on his back. She lets out a very puffy exhale as he says, "And here I was afraid you weren't talkative."
I can talk, if that is what you mean.
Well, before Nicholas tries to farther adjust his statement there, I would say we are glad to have you. Though, looking over where he can, I hope obviously the commissar will be fine, having to deal with someone else's messes. I know he typically does have to deal with that on occasion. I hope either way we'll be back in contact with you soon. Please, keep safe.
Knowing Franz, he will be perfectly fine. However, having spent time in places like this before, generally it is not acceptable for women to be in the rooms. I suggest we leave.
Right.
We could fix that. We can make you less woman.
As we hear this over the comms, I say, exactly who I was trying to page. And then, quickly looking over, goes, Morrigan, you're hearing right now our esteemed tech priest, rather than all the other priests, yeah? Zeeby, however you may call him Zeta Beta.
As you wish, sir.
It is excellent to meet you. I am Investigator Neil Kudu, and welcome to our warband. Presently, we're trying to see how exactly holy some of these holy men are, and if they have involvement, depending on how much information you've been briefed on thus far, with some underworld dealings and, we'll say, ill health care that we've been noticing across some of the populace.
You hear a knock on the door.
It seems we'll have company really soon. Right now. Begins to get up from where he was sitting, approaches the door while still
The
keeping
door
it at arm's
opens as you're on your way. A servant stands there. I only wish to... Was I disturbing something?
No, just, interesting timing as ever. May the
I
Emperor's
wish to
blessing.
offer you this Saint Valerius brand incense censer to cleanse your saint chambers. It is a gift from Ardentus the Vril.
Neil looks quickly at the item itself. It seems trying to discern anything possibly out of the ordinary. Then looks back up and immediately seems to switch to a pretty convincing, cordial expression. Well, I'll be blessed,
She
of course.
she puts it on the table. The confessor is ready for you at any time.
Thank you, certainly. Can I say either way? Obviously. Much gratitude for you and thus far the entire Temple's graces. We'll be on our way very, very soon. Just had to quickly set up or confirm some plans we have for later. However, glad to be on our way and to be able to meet His Piousness very, very shortly. With a smirk on his face, he then turns around just enough so once the servant is behind him and can't see his face, you see it immediately go back to a more serious and professional one with a slight bit of sarcasm and annoyance mixed in. He begins to waltz his way over to where the incense are again, giving them another look, and then looks over at the others. Yes, shall we get escorted by said service to the confessor, I believe now? Or will we first mull over a few more details before we head out? After all, that way we can have everything be a lot more certain as we approach our awaited conversation.
And as Morgan takes a step forward, you'll hear a screeching sound this time, with a barely audible word, or it clears up, and you hear her go, Neophyte, would it be possible to trouble you for an ignition source for this incense?
At the moment,
We could.
I believe so. Do go ahead.
She'll ask again, Neophyte, can we have an ignition source for this holy incense?
It's not holy. It's a candle. It's not blessed by the machines.
It's
Or
very
by your
simple.
Messiah.
Completely ignoring Zeta Beta, she will make the sign of the Aquila, says towards him, and what he called towards the Neophyte. And as she's not handing anything over, we'll just take a step back and slink towards the back of the room.
Well, things are getting off wonderfully smooth. Anyhow, I again do thank you for your service. We will be with the confessor rather soon. Tell him I am merely trying to clear up some aspects of our future duties with the vigil before we head right on.
She's gone.
Okay. Anyhow, looking over and noticing that she has left, he turns around and says, "Thankfully, we at the moment are in private again. However, again, we must decide, is there anything first we have to clear up or brief again? ZB, just out of curiosity, how up to pace have you been allowed to get picked up to just now?"
You understand that I am called Zeta Beta, correct?
Yes, but I remember our last encounter. With a bit of a smirk on his face that is definitely meant to be positive.
Very well. Now, what do you trouble with me this time?
It seems we're going to be trying to further our investigation presently. We've managed to get some suspects, especially finding out about corruption and rivalry within the council. We have a data sample that I finally have put forward to the medical, presumably experts, to be able to examine. That involves some biological information we'll be looking at from a crime scene where it seems one of the counselors ended up getting torched. And we now know that there's involvement with alien xenos, particularly of Eldar variant, a possible contagion, and some sort of operation on the moon. We're trying to make certain we handle these priorities in the proper order, and one of the things we're trying to engage in right now as a part of doing so is a mutual interrogation with the contestant
see.
of this temple. Yes.
Chaos is the first one we should take care of. It corrupts the soul. It corrupts physical attributes.
And speaking of that, when it comes to chaos and having to fight any sort of corruption of the soul, we've been hearing that apparently this particular temple has a few things differing from a lot of the others it's elsewise meant to be counterpart to. And according to a other priest we have right here with us, Nicholas Comatos, who presently is taking the lead on our dialogues here presently, he has pointed out to me that apparently we found some abnormal humans and or mutants who have heavy involvement, apparently, with a lot of what's been going on, and even apparently have been saying that they were hearing claims of salvation and cleansing by a purely just good word associated with people here at this exact temple of St. Valerius and involving the present confessor. They seem to believe somehow that apparently these good words can reverse apparently their mutations. We're yet to know about any actual success for this or how it's been going, but we do know there's been a lot of, we'll say, traffic coming this way.
If that's the case, there might be something here. If it is true that there is healing, possibly something of psychic presence, possibly. I do not favor it.
Understood.
It is very unlikely that this has any of the markings of the sciences that would be found within the circles of the Mechanicum. Many an Ecclesiarchy temple are to employ more bereaved members of the Mechanicum, such as Malatex or Xenonites within its ranks, that would allow to suffice the technological needs of the environment. Yet, as you can see, as he knocks upon the wooden table and throws a glance at the stone marbles around them, the touch of the Omnissiah has not reached this place. Almost as
Quite
if it's...
obviously. Look at this. He picks up a chair and kind of like breaks it with his finger. He goes, inadequate. Poor quality.
Admittedly, they are certainly not quite up to date and might seem, especially to someone of the Omnissiah, rather primitive. However, we also found out is one other detail involving more personal aspects, apparently, of this confessor we're about to go see, from Nicholas and the Commissar themselves, that apparently, when entering, a lot of the other individuals throughout the temple, while officially allowing us through, seemed apparently to not be keen on supposed members of the vigil being here. And that was before finding out more about the situation with the apparent claims of good word powers and mutants. And then, when actually getting to have a spot or sight of the confessor, it turns out he's a mid-ranker, but he seems to speak with zeal well above his station. And presently seems to be trying to carry out whatever supposedly his superior wants, but he seems to have a lot more say than you would have expected. With one eyebrow raised.
The confessor was quick to silence any oppositional intent in our direction. And I believe that we're welcomed here by higher powers that he represents.
So to keep that in mind as we approach him, presumably that'll be one of the first things we notice. At bare minimum, the large amount of zeal, keeping in mind he's a mid-ranking confessor, and trying to find out what connection he may or may not have with his superiors and how consistent that may be with apparently how he's been leading this temple.
Indeed. I believe that if we choose to get in contact with the higher ranks of the ecclesiarchy of this place, it would be through him. And it will be up to his judgment and the people he represents to do so. Whether they will be our allies or our opponents, well, we'll have to see.
He presently seems, while to be a holy man, to also, with respect, since we are investigating criminal underbelly and possible threats, including, it seems, terrifyingly biological warfare, that he may be, depending on the status we find this temple to be in, especially when it comes to legality and its overall conduct presently or recently, while a mid-ranker, also a middleman, and at bare minimum an underboss of this local vicinity. We're going to have to really make certain we get what information out of him we can, but we need to keep in mind he's going to be for certain trying to get information from us, too.
If you wish, I could always get the information from him.
We'll be speaking with him soon, and while I do want to take you up on that, basically, he will try to inform us of some things, but he'll be paying very close attention to what questions we ask. We'll have to pay attention to not only what he tells us, yet his answers, and be careful about him trying to discern anything from our demeanor or exact phrasing.
I didn't say that I'd be asking him questions.
I'd like to remind you, Morton, that upon the transcript under the Valerius's pictogram upon the highway, a parchment signed by none other than the Cardinal himself, that in a more pleasant way described that we are allowed to hold on to our fans, yet we should be very careful when bearing them. We are to play nicely and not make any overt action.
Understood. And also now, with the team we presently have here, he looks over quickly at Morrigan again, with again some very blatant interest and a bit of a smirk. I do apologize, I might have been speaking again a bit more from me in the Commissar's experience. I do know you offer, obviously, and bring to the table some very, very different skills. Mind enlightening me a bit more, though, on what exactly you can do.
And with this, you'll actually sort of sit there, look at you and go, what I can do?
I know how it sounds, but I want to get everything confirmed and clear between us first. So yes. We do have another Psychic Warband member. You might meet him at some point.
At that, Zeta Beta will pull out a hand grenade and put it on the table.
It seems that some of us have prior experiences with people as gifted as you are.
I was going to say, may the Emperor bless our investigation. May we be guided or protected by the Omnissiah and root out any more Xenos scum. Yet, first we might have to be careful about what rooting out we're doing amongst each other. Looks at the priest really quickly. This will be interesting.
He makes the sign of the gorilla and takes another sip of the wine and says, "God willing."
There will be
God machine willing.
there will be no need to have concern. I just have to find the switch for this mechanical man.
Okay. Well, we'll be glad to have, again, the different skills you both offer and you bring to the table as we proceed with the investigation. After all, my experience is mainly within more regular, even if apparently very professional human, capabilities, whereas you guys bring something especially extraordinary in comparison to that. And obviously our priest here has plenty of expertise relevant to not only where we are, but even when we've done other investigations. I will state, of course, with a lot of ways he can blend and interact with plenty of the people. This is what we have at our disposal presently, and the information I've gone over is what at the moment we know. This will be the context we're operating in, and it'll be different from the context we want, obviously, anyone, including that cardinal, to know. I just wanted to make that clear. I believe it is, of course.
Good. We are to represent the members of the vigil, and nothing more.
Exactly. As he jokingly, from under his robe, just a little knock again on the carapace armor he's wearing. But then seems to immediately go from his more playful or sarcastic demeanor to again a more serious and sincere one. Looks around at everybody and says, "Me and Nicholas will lead. We'll be very keen and expecting hope for you to keep an eye on, if you can, our surroundings, and when we do, in your different ways, to be able to, without giving anything away, better probe the Cardinal. Alright? And are we ready?"
Nothing avert.
Understood. Begins to get up slowly. Invites, obviously, Nicholas to also stand. Sets his position, ready to go straight out the door, very formally and proper, but then purposely leaves space for Nicholas to go in front. Hopefully the other two. Yep, hopefully the other two will be in back. We should be able to get moving now.
As it takes a final drag of the low and ashes upon it, ashes the low stick upon an improvised ashtray, says, "Right. Let's meet the Cardinal, shall we?"
Just don't trip in these frigging robes.
Oh, I am more than trained in wearing fanciful robes and not tripping upon them, especially when inebriated. There's a learned skill.
Well, I hope obviously your skill level, depending on sober or drunk, aren't too separate. Making a joke about some performers he's known to have very different skills depending on which state they're in too. But yes, with a little bit of a smirk, he then rigidly straightens himself out again. Straightens the robe on him. Seems to very much make certain that his eyes are keen and forward. Says to the other two, "Are we going to play nice and are we ready?"
Yes, sir.
Excellent then. Follow in right behind me. Let's go meet the Cardinal.
As you enter the streets, there's a cold breeze. You look up, there's a calming, dark blue sky. There's a shimmering light through the very dense clouds. And as you look to the right, you will see 3 large cathedrals. Gardens, people dressed in togas and long robes walk next to fanatics who chant, some of them insane. Wild gazes falling down on their knees, feigning some kind of possession. Occasionally one of them is carried and dragged backwards, his sandals scraping up against the cobblestone road. Hundreds of people walk through the roads as it is midday, and you slip into the crowd. You begin walking in the direction of the pilgrim's transept. Roll a d100. Event die.
Each of us?
No, just one.
Very good.
Oh, finally something below 50.
Zeta, as you walk across the street, you notice that there are no other tech priests here, really. You catch the attention of a lot of people as a result, and some of them begin speaking in your... You will see a thing above you. As you look up, you notice a servo skull with Mechanicus markings, and it seems to be following you.
I will wave towards the servo skull to come forward.
You wait for it, and you will see a small pict recorder sticking out of the bottom of it. You look up, and your experience with the Mechanicus leads you to believe that this thing is recording you, and it is following you. It buzzes, and as you look up at it, it makes a little twirl, like a hurricane twirl down towards you, and stops about 2 meters above you, almost taunting you. And you can see a little red light blinking next to the pict recorder.
I will say in Technolingua, if you are truly one with the Messiah, you get your ass over here and let me find out where the rest of my people is.
It buzzes again, stops about 1 meter away from your head. It is very close. It's just following you. Whenever you move your head, it just keeps following.
It appears that we are being observed.
Right. That was already quite early. With a little bit of a nudge to Nicholas as they begin to make way through the hallway. How far do you think we actually are to the Cardinal? Would you say?
We are about halfway there.
Right.
The servo skull takes off and flies over the crowd towards one of the cloisters. This one, about 20 meters away. Then it stops by the wall and begins descending.
Oh, I see in many ways, literally now.
Doggo, go investigate.
Excellent.
Doggo runs through the crowd, disappears between the feet of all the zealots. You will see you can see through Doggo's eyes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You will see a very strange figure catching the servo skull. Clearly mutated, pale, emaciated, sick-looking. A very tall, lean figure, clad in a dark blue habit. He has emblazoned silver icons of purity. The haunting face is studded with these spikes, and the eyes look sunken in. He looks tragic. A man transformed into something else.
Zetabear will grab onto Nicholas and goes, "Follow. Prepare your weapons. Chaos is here." And he'll start making his way towards where Doggo is.
The figure disappears into the garden and runs into the garden with the servo skull in his hands.
He's getting away. Hurry.
We should make contact with it.
Neil remaining within the proximity of Nicholas, then says, with in mind, Morgan, all right, do you think we have time to quickly make contact with us and head to the Cardinal, or should we temporarily have our pairs split to reconvene later, as he begins to clearly reach under his robe for his last pistol?
He runs towards the window and jumps through it with superhuman speed. Literally flying through the air, holding the servo skull.
I believe this
The
test will
creature is
require
getting away.
I believe this test will require a lot of us.
Understood. Begins to, it seems, get hold of his last pistol, pull it out from under the robes, and make a quicker pace. Says, I'll try to keep near Morgan then, you keep near ZB.
Do an athletics test. -20.
Is this in relation to climbing?
No.
Failure with -4.
Speed.
I'm pretty worried about the athletics part. Here we go.
You run.
Oh wait,
through
I
the
guess
hedge,
cybernetics sometime.
and you get stuck in the hedge fronds.
I would like to use my inspiration
Damn. Nicholas.
because I am just inspired.
What happened?
This might be pretty sad roll.
Ooh.
Oh. Nice.
Nicholas and Zeta Beta, you jump over the hedge, sprint towards the window, and you jolt through it. It's open and you see the curtains flowing and you just jolt straight through it. You will see this figure standing in a beautifully ordained room with a chandelier, several paintings. It looks like an important person's mansion. Beautiful marble floor. He just stands there looking at you, holding the servo skull. You begin to hear shouting outside. Hey!
You there? Why do you have a servo skull of the blessed Messiah? And why are you spying?
Clearly mutated. He holds a hand over his face.
Are you with Juno?
Vigilites!
Indeed, we are. Are you with Juno?
When you say Juno, his eyes light up. He recoils into the back of the room. The owner will find us soon. Must be careful. He looks at you and Zeta Beta, take a willpower test.
The bastard.
You will see several other men gathering outside the window. They have their weapons drawn. The creature walks up so the window can see him, people in the window, and will hold a hand up, waving them to stand down. This looks like people who serve him. When the owner comes home, anyone found here will be burned. He will not find me.
Are you referring to the Cardinal?
Zeta Beta,
Yeah.
What-
-5.
what are your thoughts and deeper thoughts and surface thoughts?
Service thought.
Oh, disgusting. Gross. He looks nasty. You.
a little deep.
Further deeper. Ah. He's holding a piece of Messiah equipment. His dirty hands are over it.
God, ugh, by the machine god. Why? Amasai, hold my blade. I will hold my blade. I'm gonna throw hands with this creature.
Seeming confused, he just holds a hand up to his head. Useless creature. He looks at the rest of you.
You're here
because of Will. You're looking for Juno.
We believe our interests align.
Breathing with an open mouth. Do your interests align with the Confessor?
We have yet to determine that.
Yes and no.
I think you are here for a different reason.
Yes. To get that servo skull off your hands.
He looks at the rest of you. I may be of help. I have seen the Emperor's light. Everything is not as it appears. He nods.
Have you been receiving your blessing? Or are you wary of its power?
1 minute until the owner returns. If you think you can restore order, look into the old Ardenti records. Check the ones they stopped updating. See what changed when I started speaking. Your paths are shifting.
And as it says 1 minute, I check my chrono. How many seconds remain?
You have about 40 seconds left.
I keep in mind to take enough time to leave this place, and I say, we shall look into it. May we meet under more pleasant circumstances.
He nods.
As I beckon everyone to leave this chamber immediately.
You don't need pry a locked door. You asked why it was sealed. I never stopped asking questions. That is why I look how I look. He begins walking towards the stairs, spiral stairs leading down, and you can hear someone locking the entrance door to the... He jumps down with a supernatural grace and speed and disappears down into the stairs, and you hear someone opening the door to the mansion.
Lost. We must flee this instant.
Fine.
Well, I didn't make it in. Sorry, Nathan, I didn't make it in.
Do any of you want to try to follow him? Or what do you do? You can do anything. Anything you want.
As a quick moment of levity, may I simply state, Neil, where him and Mornigan's roles slightly mucked up for the athletics, looks over at her being a little bit caught up, and him clearly having not quite made the jump, and goes, "So you prioritize mental training too, obviously."
Yeah, books are much easier to.
And you will
navigate.
hear the person walking into the living room where you were standing.
Maybe we can go now.
Okay.
As he looks over at her and tries
I'm going to say
another go.
you did not say those things to each other, and you just immediately ran out. Okay.
Gotcha.
You run out of the garden,
Outside in a way.
and you blend into the crowd. The servo skull is gone.
As jump as alongside with Zeta Beta from within the mansion, they would basically climb down from one of the vines that crawl along the side of the mansion as nobody seemed to pay any attention to them and rejoin the group. He draws to Neil. Nicholas draws to Neil and says, like I said, many factions.
Right. Seems the tension is certainly palpable, and it could be cut with not only a knife, yet a pen.
Zeta Beta will walk up right next to Neil.
Yes.
You certainly are not strong.
I know you've recommended, apparently, that you think Metal Investigator would be better than Fleshy Investigator, but that's a conversation for later.
Metal.
And he will just pull out of his bag a metallic leg and kind of nudge it towards him.
I missed this. Right. Conversation for
Machine
later.
is stronger. Your flesh is weak.
As he quickly pats his his still flesh leg, and then does a joking, sarcastic knock on his other metal one. I've been thinking about it. I hate to say aloud. Puts his shoulder on Nicholas, looks back over to check on Morrigan. Well, it seems we have even more cause for what we're going to look for. Let's hope that the Cardinal is actually still waiting for us. As he then looks forward and
As you begin to approach the pilgrim's transept, you will see a huge cathedral. Someone is already expecting you. Several Ardenti zealots standing outside bow as you approach. As they open the door, you are let into a beautiful chamber. You will see a tall ceiling above and a row of benches. At the end, you will see Ardentus, the preacher.
Wait, more, are there cherubs flying around?
Oh yes.
If Ripsaw had a face, he'll be in disgust right now as he sees these tiny, useless servitors just flying everywhere.
Neil, beginning to look around, peels his eyes as he begins to try and advance a bit more next to Nicholas rather than behind, and seems to be purposely trying to make certain that anything that gets too close to them is kept hopefully at a wide berth.
Ardentus bows politely. He is a towering, pale figure with pallid skin, cracked. He has a Crossius Arcanum to ward off warp energies, and he is wearing a crimson ecclesiarchy robe. He, from your readings, holds some influence over the zealots. You're not sure exactly how much. He steps forward, putting his cane to the ground with a thud as you approach. He bows slightly. Not a moment too late. Welcome, Vigilites.
Excellent, of course, to finally meet your acquaintance. Looking
May
up
I
and
take you on a short tour while we speak, if you will?
I would
follow
believe at the moment, looks over at Nicholas. That sounds fine, though I'll quickly check with some of my associates.
And Morgan is just going to open her mind to the surrounding area to see whether or not she's able to pick up any
As he turns over his shoulder, he begins walking, the candle lights flickering behind him. Incense in the air sort of sways behind his red robe as he walks into one of the hallways, and you can hear the echoes of his footsteps.
Beginning to proceed with him, Neil tries to, while Nicholas is perhaps a little bit preoccupied, begin finding what, hopefully, inconspicuous way he can to further engage, and begin especially the dialogue or conversation with apparently said Cardinal. So, as I've heard, apparently, obviously, the good word is strong, and services have been being provided effectively to a lot of the populace. Yes?
Turns around, looking at all of you. The pilgrims, of course, often enter these chambers looking for answers, but I assume you're here for a different reason, and I am willing to answer some of yours. However, that is not really my station. I am simply here to show you around. I wish to show you this chamber. You're welcome to visit the Basilica as well. But do be mindful and respectful. These are hallowed halls. At the pilgrim site, you may do as you please, but at the Basilica, you must show respect.
But of course, we would not dare threaten the sanctity of such hallowed grounds.
He nods politely.
You hear a buzz come off of Zeta Beta.
I'm sure you're all well familiar with the creed. I won't preach to any of you. This is the shrine of the saint, a sealed chamber honoring the lost figure from Valerius's pilgrimage, never canonized. The relics within the room is sacred. You may, of course, look at them as you please. Next, he keeps walking through the halls. The chamber of verified miracles. You will find that all of Valerius' miracles are verified here. The vaulted chapel showcases miracles attributed to Saint Valerius and ecclesiarchy figures throughout the Ascalon sector. Pilgrims enter in small groups to study glowing reliquaries. There are also some less glorious treasures from fallen heroes and such. Next, the Immolation Archives, a fireproof vault containing devotional materials that survived our holy purges, prayers denied canonization, texts within doctrines, and items that have gone through our purity tests. He keeps walking, speaking about the various chambers. The pilgrims visit this chamber often. The Pilgrim Declarations. It is a gallery where visiting clergy and nobles make public declarations of faith. As you can see, we have brass voice plaques, each engraved with the speaker's name, a statement, and a relic donation. It's a room filled with incense. He keeps walking through the halls, now walking up some stairs. And this is the chamber of the Oath Seals. It is a vaulted room guarded by many important figures, overseen by an elderly adept. He's not here right now, but if he returns, you may ask for access. You will find data scrolls, racks, and tabulated donation codes. Next, of course, is the Visitor's Indexium. It is our reception archive for dignitaries and sanctioned pilgrims. Here you will find logbooks and autoquell desks used for authorizing shrine access. There is also a Vox terminal for inquisitorial seals, and the back wall contains a sealed engine once operated by ecclesiarchy aides. The Ecclesiastic Gallery As you walk into the hallway, he points to various murals on the walls. It's a ceremonial display hall for pilgrims, where relics said to belong to Saint Valerius are housed behind sealed glass. The shrine keepers will guide visitors along these pathways to record any spiritual reactions. A test of purity of sorts. Of course, we are not undergoing that test now. You may avert your gaze. Finally, public access. We have the Intercessor Record Vault. A quiet antechamber used only by senior shrine keepers to process special petitions and requests for visiting dignitaries. These parchment-stamped drawers are filled with requests. You will also find the long-broken cogitator terminal with the central archive pillar. I'm afraid our records are not complete. You will find more complete records in the Basilica. Now, I hope that you will find what you're looking for. Feel free to look to our other records and ask me any question you have. I'll be in the Grand Hall. I, of course, can't answer anything sensitive. But
Well,
if you have an active investigation, please tell me the details and I'll try to help as best as I can.
I request knowledge.
Oh?
Where are the Adeptus Mechanicus?
He nods. The Adeptus Mechanicus have a long history with our chapel. We have many construction sites where they help us build and maintain our data loom. You may find more information on this in the Basilica. There is no Mechanicus station here at the pilgrimage.
Interesting. Also foolish.
We of course have our own tech priests who maintain our machines, and I'm sure, except from the one you just saw in the archive, most of our equipment is in working order.
I will be the judge of that.
He nods politely.
To the Basilicum.
Would the professor allow our many muses around this place before meeting him?
Of course, you're free to explore as you wish.
Thank you.
He nods politely. Saint Valerius did not conquer death. He bound it. And we keep that lock shut. With our blood. We take our station very seriously. And our faith in the Emperor. He makes a sign with the Aquila. And walks you through the hall. As you walk behind him, he turns around. I ask only this. Do not interfere with the sanctification rites. You needn't understand everything. If you see something happening that you don't understand, just witness. He walks through the chambers, back into the main hall, walks behind the altar, and begins opening a book. As he sees you just wandering around in the room, he will just take one last glance up at you, look back into the book, and begin reading.
Zirber is going to go to the Verculum to find tech priests. That was where the tech priests are. Start of the V.
Okay. You will walk through the hallways and you will see a few wandering tech priests. Just walking about, looking at the machines. One of them is standing by the cogitator in the intercessory record vault. The one that you just saw was broken. There are a bunch of wires hanging from the ceiling. Very intricate equipment.
You state your identification.
With a sharp glance, he looks at you.
Who are you? I have never seen you here before. You're supposed to be stationed in the Basilica. I have sole responsibility for this cogitator.
You may have sole custody over this cogitator, but I am from Holy Mars. I'm here to inspect work around here.
He breaks out into full technolingua.
What you talking about?
You break into technolingua as well. Look here, motherfucker. I'm here to look at your stuff. I'm coming from Holy Mars. Is your stuff corrupted or not?
This is my machine. I've been there for years. You're intruding on my territory. I know these wires in and out. The ceiling, the walls. I've been there for
hombre, you
my
don't
whole life.
have it.
What you talking about? You coming in here and knowing my cogitator better than me?
I know more things than you do. Things that will keep you up at night.
Oh yeah?
You meat bag.
Tell me the serial number of this machine here right over here.
Do a lore test Mechanicus. You get a minus 30.
Damn.
Right behind that wall over there. See that little cobblestone wall? There's a thin little layer. Behind that wall over there, you will find a cogitator, RB31. You would know that it's hooked up to the cogitator at the data loom. But you've never been there before, have you?
I like to use my inspiration.
Well. Ooh.
2 additional.
Alright, what do you say? What do you say?
This data loom. Oh yeah, I know everything about it. It has stupid prayers to the All-Messiah, which should have All-Messiah prayers in it. Instead, it's got stupid prayers about him being a meatbag. You and I both know he's no meatbag.
He squints, looks up with one red glowing augmented eye.
You have been here before, haven't you?
No, I am just that good.
Omnissiah be damned. Alright. I guess you ain't bad after all. Alright, what you looking for, my friend?
I am looking for chaos. It needs,
You won't find it here.
There are
I know
rumors
that many
it is
machines over
spreading.
there ain't filled with chaos. That's for sure.
There are rumors about within darkness that corruption is spreading, and it's gotta end.
Well, there ain't no corruption around here. I would have known about it.
There's
However,
also muties around here.
There's lots of muties, but there ain't no corruption. But the damn machine won't work. See this thing over here?
He points to the archival cogitator.
This that doggone thing ain't worked for many years. And I can't figure it out for the life of me.
He wobbles over it, his mechadendrites sort of sadly hanging behind him. This is an old tech priest, clearly not very senior in station.
Wow, the machines, they The visitors keep pulling on the wires when they go crazy with their emperor stuff. They're pulling and chanting, lighting fires. Wires and fires don't go together.
True. Let me see the machine. I may be able to bring it back to life. If it has something important, it might have some answers to the rumors.
Tell me, where'd you get this kind of knowledge?
My donor.
Impressive.
He stands back, clearly humbled. You lean down to the cogitator. Do tech Justus. You get a minus 30.
I love technology. Hopefully we made it canon.
Seems minus
That was
30 is
mechanic
It's
Playing.
real.
I just succeed.
Damn. You miraculously repair the machine. Takes you a good while, but you have some extra parts. You have the skill. You attach the wires, and although this thing is not going to hold on for long, you power it up, and with an excited spark, you see this text coming up, a little cogitator wheel.
Well, Omnicide damned. You goddamn dirty, you madman.
Of course I did it. See, Mars represents.
You're for real. I must have underestimated you. I'm sorry, friend. You look like a simple Skitari over there. I didn't see your face.
Originally, I was supposed to be a Skitari, but unfortunately my donor died. So in an emergency action, he had all of his memory shoved into my brain.
So this brain over here ain't really yours.
He looks at the brain.
The knowledge of my donor rests in my cranium.
And as all of you stand there, looking at the cogitator that is now operating, that's where we can put a bookmark in it for next week.
There's a lot of investigating to do here.
Yes.
I wanted to definitely go further depending on how much time we had, but yeah. I knew especially
Well, we're
once
not
they...
going to do that. Session is over. Everybody gets 350 XP. Awesome. Awesome game.
And
I'll
yeah,
see
I
you
know. I was
guys
just
next
saying
week.
that I knew in a really cool way that once we got to the actual machines that it was basically, this is flat out Santa Beta's role, so we just need to listen and see what he finds.
Awesome role playing.
Wicked fucking fun.
This is Joe. Good to have you back.
Oh, it's good to be back. Oh my god, I hate being a supervisor.
He not only gets inspiration, he is an inspiration for roleplay, especially.
Oh yeah. And we will pick it up there next week.
It sounds silly, but I keep trying to find a point where just when discussing a few things and shooting the shit, I can make a bit of a joke reference to some sort of shanties by saying how he remembered instead of hearing Lever, Johnny Lever, hearing Cleaver, Johnny Cleaver.
Nice.
Was a good ship yet.
I see your chat now, Joe. I can see it in the stream right now. I'm at the gym. Broke a PR. Tell Tavi he needs to grunt more. What?
It was a part where Tavi was like grunting, like it was in the very beginning, and I was like, grunt more, you gay lord.
Nah, I'm not the type priest no more. Remember when I used to do that? My fucking voice. Nah, that stuff breaks my voice box, man.
Only Joe can keep that up for hours.
Oh,
Yeah,
did
only
he
jokes.
hearing about? Did he hear
Feel
about?
feel free to keep role playing or doing whatever you want. By the way, but I gotta be quiet because of the kids.
Oh, right, excellent.
Ah, yes, the spawns of Nurgle. They come for your eyeballs.
Indeed.
I've had to combat some Nurgle myself, but thankfully not via, we'll say, any sort of miasma. More annoyingly,
For as long as I've known Morden, he has gotten more sick from his own children, his own offspring, than anything else he's ever told me.
Yes.
Makes you think about the term biological success.
Well, it is the many challenges of being a parent. Welcome to the educational system.
Never mind talking about challenges involving the educational system. But yeah.